Steve Smith kept a watchful eye on Tuesday's NFL trade deadline. The former All-Pro receiver turned NFL Network analyst was surprised by a couple of things, but not the deal that sent receiver Kelvin Benjamin from Carolina to Buffalo. "I've got my ears to the street, so I kind of knew some things were going on with some other players as well," Smith told Omnisport Thursday in an exclusive interview. "Teams want to organically grow their superstars," Smith added. "When they feel like a guy reached his potential or they feel like the compensation of his salary and his production don't line up, then it's time to move on, like Kelvin Benjamin. You look at the Buffalo Bills. Why did they need a wide receiver? Because they did the same exact thing with Sammy Watkins, trading him to the Los Angeles Rams. This is a game that is evolving and changing, and I think you're going to see more trades at the deadline and even more trades right before and during the draft as well." Smith, who retired from the NFL in January after 16 seasons, said his transition from player to media member has been excellent and allows him to gain a different perspective on the league. "I get to learn the nuances of the administrative side of football that, as a player, you don't get that opportunity to interact with GMs," Smith said. "As a player for the Panthers, I would have never interacted with the GM of the Dolphins. As a player for the Baltimore Ravens, I would have never been able to talk with a scout for the Tennessee Titans or a scout for the San Francisco 49ers. Learning the game in a different way and understanding how trades are made, understanding all 32 cultures of each team, and also the philosophies of each coach." Smith, who spent 13 of his 16 NFL seasons with the Panthers and still lives in Charlotte, said he doesn't know how the Benjamin trade will affect the current Carolina team. "Every locker room is different. Some people are relieved. Some people obviously are shocked," Smith said. "When they trade players away, they don't go get a poll or a consensus of what the players think before they do that, they just do it." There were a couple of trade-related items that did surprise Smith. The 49ers sending a second-round pick to New England for quarterback Jimmy Garoppolo and the botched A.J. McCarron trade between the Bengals and Browns. "Jimmy Garoppolo was an interesting one," Smith said. "I still can't figure out why a guy who's played very little is valued so high. I am mystified how the Cleveland Browns keep doing the things that they do," Smith continued. "They're a unique breed." Smith has a unique perspective on Panthers quarterback Cam Newton. The two were teammates from 2011 to 2013 and admittedly bumped heads during that time. Newton ran over to hug Smith this summer while the former receiver visited Panthers training camp with NFL Network. Smith said he doesn't use his relationships to evaluate, to knock, or talk good or talk bad about a team. He did, however, discuss why Newton hasn't been able to regain his MVP form from 2015. "Teams are doing different things and it's 2 years later. Teams are adjusting, players are different," Smith said. "They don't have the same cast of characters. Everything has to be in line. What you do 2 years ago doesn't automatically come the next year. When you look at points per game they were scoring, defensive takeaways, some of the personnel they had, it all changes. Look at the New England Patriots in the first 4 weeks," Smith continued. "Everybody assumed, us media talking about them going 16-0, and through the first 4 weeks, they were on pace to give up the most yardage in NFL history. Each year, you have a new habit to break. Some teams do a good job of it, some players do a good job of it. Some players struggle throughout the year, and if you have some injuries and you're behind, whatever the case may be, you have a slow start and it takes a little bit of time." When Smith isn't gracing NFL Network, He still makes frequent television appearances, especially on college football Saturdays, as a spokesman for Dr. Pepper. Smith said he was already a big fan of Dr. Pepper and he's proud of his cool commercial appearing alongside Larry Culpepper, who is portrayed by actor James Conner. Larry is a pretty handsome man, but they thought they should have another handsome man lined up next to him, Smith quipped. It worked out. Smith retired with 1,031 receptions, good for 12th all-time, and his 14,731 receiving yards rank 8th. He is one of 27 players with at least 81 receiving touchdowns and will likely be inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Though the 38-year-old Smith, who was a third-round pick of the Panthers in the 2001 draft, isn't eligible for the Hall until 2021, there is a Steve Smith on the 2018 ballot. Former Giants, Eagles and Rams receiver Steve Smith, who had 245 receptions for 2,641 yards and 12 touchdowns over 6 seasons, was inexplicably included in what was likely a case of mistaken identity. Every player who has an opportunity gives it a thought, the current NFL Network analyst and Dr. Pepper Pitchman said of the Hall. It came up and people were tweeting at me. I didn't even know what all the big fuss was. Then I saw it and was like, oh, okay.